Oh, what's going on today? Hmm. What the hell was that sound? Oh, what is going on? Oh, what is going on? Oh my god. What the hell? Whoa! Welcome to another video of Squirrels Fair. I hope you like that little intro. Funny enough, I did do the acting thing when I was younger. Not anymore, as you can probably tell. Anyway, today's video of my horror series is Friday the 13th, a big franchise with 12 meaty films. And I say meaty, Jason's hot. We'll get to that film eventually. Anyway, there's a lot of films, as I said, there's 12 films in this series, so let's not dilly-dally around with these films. Let's just start off by saying that Friday the 13th film is very, very good. It's a good franchise. While not considered to me to be my favourite, because, as you all know, the Halloween series is my favourite. But Friday the 13th is very good. So, without further ado, we're going to get on with it with number 12. Number 12, I think a lot of people will agree with me here. There might be the odd one here and there that might disagree, but Jason Takes Manhattan. I'm not going to talk much about this one, simply because it's the one that I don't like in the series. The rest of them are pretty decent, but this one really has its troubles. Moving to Manhattan, it spends, what are we talking, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at Camp Crystal Lake. So, and then it moves to Manhattan. Some weird stuff goes on. Not a fan of it. While it is through and through a Jason film, unlike the next film on my list, this one for me is at number 12, unfortunately. But the next one, number 11 on the list, is Freddy vs. Jason. This one, the reason why I've put this so low is because it is not a Jason film through and through. While Jason gets, we're talking 85 to 90% of the kills in the film, it is not a Jason film, it is a Freddy film. It's all about Freddy. It's all about the Nightmare on Elm Street type. It's that style. I mean, it's good, it's got its bad. But for the time, it was pretty decent. And obviously, since then, we haven't had many versus films with these tyrant horror master villains that we have. Like, you got your Michael Myers, you got your Chucky, you got your Freddy Krueger, and you've got your Jason Voorhees. But at no point did we ever expect to get any of these fighting off against each other. And of course, we got Freddy vs. Jason. While it is a good film, it's not the top of my list, and I don't ever see it being the top of any of my lists. In fact, tell a lie, the only top of the list there'll ever be, and it's a list that I will probably never do on this channel, so I'm not ruining anything, is a versus list. It is the best versus film, in my opinion. And you look at the Alien versus Predator films. Batman versus Superman. Not technically a versus film, but still is. Cap versus Iron Man. I'd probably say Cap versus Iron Man is probably the best film in that list. So just contradicting myself. Anyway, so yeah, Freddy versus Jason is at number 11. At number 10 on my list is A New Beginning. This one really pisses me off. For one reason, and one reason only. It is not Jason. It is frigging Tommy. The whole thing gets in the newspapers, so, it really confuses things for the next film, because, they talk about it like it's still a myth, or a legend, like the Camp Crystal Lake legend thing, but as a matter of fact, it's out there now. Everyone knows. But for the reason that it is not Jason Voorhees, it does not get any higher on my list. And that is the only reason why I haven't put it anywhere. It's not a bad film per se, but to be told that it's not Jason Voorhees, it really does get on my nerves. The funny thing is with this one as well, like I said before, with number 12, it through and through is a Jason film. And like I said with number 11 as well, Freddy vs. Jason wasn't a through and through Jason film. This one is, but it's not Jason. So I can't put it anywhere. So yeah, my number 10 is A New Beginning. At number 9, one that you probably thought would have come up a little bit earlier, but I actually do enjoy this one quite a lot. Quite when I say earlier, I mean later on, like low on my list, but it's not, and that's Jason X. I love Jason X so very much. You know, and it gets a lot of hate, and there's a reason why a couple of these are higher on the list is because they do something new with the series. They get a little bit deeper into the sort of weirdness the series gets into, and this one definitely goes in that direction. You know, having Jason go up into space, having him become Uber Jason, and you know, it's pretty good. And you do get a really good scene in that film, where you know they use like a holodeck type of thing from Star Trek, and they trick Jason for a little bit, and with these two girls, you know, they get their goods out. Sorry, ladies. But you know, they get that out, and you know, they do all these things. They smoke weed. They're talking about having premarital sex. You know, it's all there. Jason kills them. And he just shacks him for 5 minutes, if that. But yeah, it is a good film. And again, it has its troubles. I'm not going to lie and say, I'm not going to stand here and say it's a perfect film because it's not. But Jason X, to me, is a very enjoyable film. And I love what they did with it because it's something different, something new in the series. Especially after having some of the stale, what I think has been some, you know, you get the sort of like rut that people get into in these franchises. The Friday the 13th series seems to be the biggest proof of that. I don't see it being that hard of a film series to make, personally. Like, if I were to go and remake or reboot the series, I don't see it being the hardest task ever. Which a lot of people thought the remake had. But anyway, my number 9 spot, Jason X. My number 8 spot goes to Jason Goes to Hell, which, again, a lot of people might think would be lower on the list, but it's actually up here at my number 8. And for one reason and one reason only. It's at my number 8 because of what it does. It changes things up. Okay, yes, you don't get Jason very much, which does contradict what I said with the Freddy vs. Jason thing. You know, taking Jason away from the forefront. But Freddy vs. Jason was not a straight up Jason film. It was not a straight up Friday the 13th film. It was a Freddy and Jason film. But it didn't balance them out. But yeah, my number 8 has to go to Jason Goes to Hell for what they do. The opening scene is a brilliant scene. While misled, it is a brilliant scene. And cops shoot down Jason, and it seems to be the end of it. But then he gets to the hospital, and for some reason, they all start eating that meaty heart of Jason's. Which I said, this series has meat. And this is where it gets eaten. It's Jason's heart. Gets eaten, Jason embodies them. It's a strange one in the series, don't get me wrong, but I enjoy it every time I watch it. And that weird ending where you get Freddy's claw just come and grab the mask. You know, it's really like, whoa, didn't see that coming. You know, when you're watching it for the first time, you don't see it coming. When I remember when I first watched it, I was like, whoa, hang on a second, that's Freddy. What? That's Freddy Krueger. That's literally my reaction. At the the time I probably wasn't old enough to watch it. I wasn't even born. But yeah. So Jason Goes to Hell is my number 8 spot, and my number 7 spot. One that I do get really confused by sometimes, but I prefer this over all the other ones that I've already said, and that is New Blood. Now, New Blood reintroduces Jason as the killer in this one. It's no copycat killer. It's not a robot. It's not, there's not, any stupidness of this. Jason comes back and he does what he does best. And it's good. It's really good. And, the ending is pretty decent as well. I'm not going to ruin it here because I can't remember it. But no, New Blood is definitely better than all the others that I've said so far. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Before we continue and get into our top 6, the usual. Please like, comment and subscribe on my channel. It is much appreciated. And click that notification bell if you want to be notified when my videos are uploaded. Let's continue. And we are back. Okay, so we are at number 6. And my number 6 spot, again, a lot of people would expect this to be probably right at the bottom or just above that. And that is the remake. Gerard Perky. What is there not to hate? There's nothing to hate in this film. A lot of people, I can understand where people come from. I really can. With the Friday the 13th remake. But for me, it is a brilliant film. All the films up now are brilliant films. For me, this one's brilliant. I can't, I don't get why it was so much hate. It's certainly not the worst remake we've had. I have to say the worst remake we've ever had has to be the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Child's Play was half decent. Evil Dead got an half decent remake. Actually, Evil Dead is one of the best examples of a remake being good. And Friday the 13th remake is a good one. And I think it's really underrated as a good film. Yes, it does kind of skip the first 2 films, like the original 2. So it's not a direct remake. More of a trying to reboot the series, but didn't do well enough in the cinema to actually reboot that series. So that was hard. That's a hard situation when you come to it, but it's not absolutely dire straits with that one. I absolutely love the film, and it gets a lot right. And it's very nuanced. It gives you that nuanced feeling of, it brings something that's from the 80s and early 70s, late 70s, early 80s, brings it into that 2000s feeling, and it does it well. It really does, in my opinion. Don't forget this is just my opinion. Do not bite my head off because I've put a film that you hate at number 6. So yeah, my number 6 spot, the Friday the 13th remake. At my number 5 spot, again, this one started it off. It's part 1. Okay, now, I struggled to figure out where to put this because I was thinking, it's not a Jason film. It's not the films that we later learned to love. Because they really did improve it. Like, I know this contradicts it with me putting it at number 5, but for me, every film onwards does improve the series, and that for me is something that I love. But part 1, it has Kevin Bacon in his sort of first role. I believe it was his first role. You get Johnny Depp in his first role. You got Kevin Bacon in his first role. You have the Jamie Lee Curtis in her first role in these horror films, but this one for me struggles at the same time. It tries to do that Michael Myers. I know the Michael Myers thing. They admitted that they were trying to get what that got, but revealing that it was Mrs. Voorhees in the end sort of feels like a little bit of a, you sort of think it's Jason throughout the film. It's never really stated it's Jason, and by all means, it could have just been somebody. You know what I mean? They could have easily just made it some random weirdo. You know what I mean? They really could have done. Who just likes to watch the naughty kids at a camp on a lake called Crystal Lake, and that's the direction they could have gone in. But instead, they went in this direction where, that Jason Voorhees watched his mother get killed, and that's how the series sets off. But this part one is really good, and it brings that tension feeling because you never see the actual villain or the actual slasher or the killer. Straight off the bat, you never see that. It's not until later on where this new character comes into it that we haven't seen in the rest of the film. A story gets explained. A little boy drowned because some, campers, the people that were meant to be watching the kids didn't watch the kids and they were off bonking, So, yeah, but this film does it justice and really does set up the best films for later on in the series. Number 4, we have Jason Lives. Jason Lives is a brilliant film. It really is. It does it right with where it's set and how they go forward with the film. Excuse me, losing my voice here. It really does well with what it has. It comes into the aftermath of the whole Tommy thing, and it really does it well. And it's one that I always look forward to watching when it comes to it. Now, my top three were some of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. And a lot of what other reviewers have done almost influenced me to put what I put at number 2 into the number 1 spot. But in number 3 spot is part 2. Part 2 brings you into that Jason story. Brings you in with the Jason being the main antagonist for the whole film. And the whole film series. And it does it really well. The whole thing about, the idea that he goes off and finds a bed sheet and pokes a hole in it is a good idea for a mask. I don't know if that was just the idea just to say, look, this is where we're starting. If you don't like it, we'll get a mask later on, sort of thing, which they do in part 3. But for me, part 2 is really good, and it really does better on the original. I think Halloween series and Nightmare on Elm Street struggle to do that. Struggle to make the sequel as good, if not better than the first. In this instance, it makes it better than the first. Child's Play also does the same thing. The second one does do better than the first, slightly. But for me, part 2 is better than part 1, and it does it the way it should. It has some great segments in this film, and parts 2, 3 and 4 seem to happen round about the same time over a couple of days, which is interesting because, you get that in the Halloween series. A lot of that happens. Like, in the first 2 Halloween films, you got that. It was the same night. When you look at the originals, not the shitty Rob Zombie remakes. Don't even get me started on them. Anyway, so, yeah, my number 3 spot goes to part 2. Now, my number 2 spot is the one that you're all thinking of now. Probably one that you think is going to go here, is not. But this one is part 4. Now, part 4 for me, again, I struggled with. At times I wanted to put it lower on the list, but rewatching it, it is so good. And it is so fun to watch. Crispin Glover's sort of dance moves, I mean, I ain't got it. I'm hoping that was better than Crispin Glover. But take that away, and you have this, you have the kid, you have Tommy introducing this one, and it's really it's really strange where they go with it, but it's actually enjoyable. They met this out as if this is going to be the last one, final chapter. And then, of course, they went on to do A New Beginning and all this and really confuse things. But this one really does do its service with it really well. You know, a lot of people, in respect to this series, puts this one at the top. And I was gonna, but again, putting this one at the top would have really influenced me from previous videos that I've watched to help me get into the mindset of what this video is going to be about. So yeah, putting this one where it is can be controversial to a lot of people. I don't think it's too harsh putting it at number 2. If I put it at like 7 or 8, or right at the bottom, people, I think that's where the backlash could come from. Being like, am I really a proper reviewer? You know? But this is just my opinion. This is what I enjoy when I watch these films. When I watch these films and I think about these films, these are the ones I enjoy. And it's that simple. So, moving on. And of course, the number 1 spot for me is part 3. Simple as. Now I know on rewatches it can be really strange, especially with the fact that it was meant to be 3D at the start. Like when it first released, it was 3D, and it's really strange watching it now because you see all those, especially that part where she axes him, and he's like, "Ooh, coming for you, axe on my head." You know, it's really weird watching that scene, but it does it really well. I love this film. It introduces the mask. The characters are really good. I think this and part 4 have the best characters introduced into this film series. With one of those actually going into the couple of the films later on as an adult and a teen. But you know, this one really does bring you. I mean, you know, you've got that really. You know, it's a problem. Not only in horror films, but in films in general. The chubby guy is always the comic relief and never gets the girl. That certainly comes across in this film big time. And it was probably my first introduction into knowing that chubby guys never get any luck when it comes to these kind of films. So I'm screwed. So, you know, but that pretty much wraps up my list. I know that this one was a little bit of a mess. This one took so long for me to decide where they were. I watched every single one in the series, though I do get confused with A New Beginning, Jason Lives and New Blood for some reason. I definitely get mixed up with those, and I may have made mistakes there, so I apologise for that. But the films that I've put in the place they are going to stay there. I can't see me ever really re-looking at this list. But onwards with my videos now. Having a little chat with you about this. This series is now going to be combined with just my movie series. This is just going to be my movie review series. Where I'll look at different franchises that I absolutely love. You got your horror, your sci-fi, and you got like the odd rom-com. Shaun of the Dead. But you know, you've got all these genres, action. You know, one of the big series that I will be taking on is superheroes. I know I've talked about superhero films in the past, and I might have to watch some of my old videos just to figure out if I've done any lists, but I don't think I did before the horror series. So, yeah. So after this one, because I've done the big 4 already, and the rest that I've got left are Evil Dead, Scream. So like those 2 only have 4 films in each franchise. And obviously with Evil Dead, one of which is a remake. So you know, and I've talked about this one in the video. My Evil Dead video will be my next horror video. One that I will be recording the same day. So don't think I wear the same clothes all the time. I don't. It's just that these clothes were the ones I wear when I'm doing my big recording sessions when I have the time, which is today. So So yeah, that's where it's going with that. I am working on my structure for the movie videos, the news videos, sorry. Which I know my last video with the news was problematic. Supernatural also had some troubles as well. So I really need to work on the way I do my videos at the minute, because I'm looking at the minute I'm looking at quantity over quality. Maybe I should be looking at quality. But yeah, so if you don't get a horror franchise, in what initially started as a horror series, it's because I'm starting to run out of horror franchises. Um, Obviously, The Conjuring is going to be on the list. The Insidious series of films are going to be on the list. Alien is in the sci-fi horror. That's definitely going on the list with Predator. I'll obviously include those AVP films as well into those lists, just like I've done with some of my superhero ones. So that's my video for today, the Friday the 13th. Oh, he's come again. You scared me earlier, and you're scaring me again. Do you mind, Jason? This guy, right? This guy. So, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. He's still there, isn't he? I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. This has been Scrivo. I've been Scrivo, actually. I've been Scrivo. This has been Scrivosphere. I hope you have a good day, and goodbye. And goodbye to you. You need to go. Leave me alone. This might be my last video. He's going to kill me. Goodbye, I guess.